Did you think I'd forgotten you? Perhaps you hoped I had. Every kitten grows up to be a cat. They seem so harmless at first, small, quiet, lapping up their saucer of milk. But once their claws get long enough, they draw blood, sometimes from the hand that feeds them. For those of us climbing to the top of the food chain, there can be no mercy. There is but one rule: hunt or be hunted. Welcome back.
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, manga chapter 552. So this is Heki's big chance. This is his big chance to redeem himself. And this may surprise you guys. This may surprise you, but I actually hope he does. And I'm gonna explain my reason. Just hear me out. I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna say everyone, but why do most people in the Kingdom community just not like Heki? Not like they hate Heki, but if you ask Kingdom fans, who's your favorite character? Not many people would pick Heki. And out of the people who do say Heki's their favorite character, I think 90% of them are trolling. There's like 10% that really care, that really love them some Heki. And the answer to this question actually came from a commenter in my last review. And it's not something that we all don't know. I mean, we all deep down know why we don't like Heki. But the way he said it crystallized it. It brought it down into its purest form. The commenter's name was not Hitler. And what he said was, he waters down the name of General. General should be a great achievement. And to see what Shin, Moten, Ohan, and Kyokai are having to go through to get to that level, and then seeing somebody like Heki already at that level and not looking deserving of it, just makes it look cheap. So I just need to see something from this guy to validate his existence on this battlefield, and to honestly validate his existence as a general of Quinn. And before we get into the video, guys, I want to give a special shout out to Melozo. If you haven't seen his live reaction, guys, go and check that out. It was pretty funny. He pretty much calls out the entire Kingdom community, basically for being Yotanwa fanboys. And to be honest with you guys, I have to agree with Melozo. He is 100% accurate on this statement. And as a Yotanwa fanboy, I would love to explain my reasons for why I believe this plan will work. And it's because Yotanwa came up with the plan, so how could it not work? And it's awesome to be a fanboy of Yotanwa because, you know what? At least we know she will deliver on expectations.
Lonzo Ball is going to take the Lakers to the playoffs his first year. Come see me when he does. I'll have another hat on to say, I told you so.
Alright, so the chapter picks up pretty much where it left off last chapter. We're still in the night of the 8th day. And at the moment, we're focusing on Yotanwa's tent. And inside, we see that all the tribe's leaders are angry and surrounding Heki. One of Heki's men is doing his best to keep them at bay. But Heki himself is still looking pretty dejected. And you see that all the tribe leaders know that this is the guy who pretty much caused them all the trouble they're in right now. And many of them want to kill him. But one of the tribe's leaders is taking it a bit too far, like he's actually about to do it. And Katari butts in, letting them know that harming any of the plains dwellers will not be tolerated. But the Raji chief says he doesn't understand why he should follow a stupid rule like that, because he really doesn't think there's nothing wrong with cutting off the head of somebody who cost them their supplies. But Katari does remind him that these aren't his words, these are direct orders from the Lord of Death. But he responds by saying, so what if it is? Like, I give a damn about that. And as he's saying that, out of nowhere, Yotanwa appears. And she lowers his sword just before she punches him directly in the jaw. And this one shot brings him to his knees before she follows up with a kick to the head. And we see how some of the mountain tribe are amazed she was able to take him out in 2 hits. And it is noted that the second kick wasn't even necessary. She did go overboard just a tad bit. And she asked if all the tribe leaders have arrived. And with the arrival of the Lord of Death, these men have forgotten their hunger. They are so awestruck by her beauty and power, they have no other choice but to go into a frenzy screaming out Lord of Death. The only one unaffected by this is Kitari, who calls these chieftains a bunch of idiots. Kitari must be a little jealous. I'm sure where she's from, she's used to getting all the attention.
Do you just look at my boobs?
I was not my intention. I didn't stare directly at them.
You're looking at them right now.
Now I did. Because you were talking about him.
Testing. Oh, failed.
And as Yotanwa sits down to get comfortable on her tiger skin throne, which was probably a gift from the Tiger Slayer Raji that she just knocked out, she asks Punan to translate what she's about to say for General Heki. And with a breath of exhaustion, she begins to say that she doesn't like wasting her breath, so she's going to get right to the point. At this moment, they only have 3 days left of food. This news shocks everyone and has them all in a panic. But Yotanwa screams for them to shut up, and it gets them all back in line. And just stopping right here on a side note, guys, like every time I look at these Mountain Tribe masks, I like all their different designs. But the one thing I always try to do is I always try to figure out how each one of them can see. And usually, with most of these masks, I can kind of come up with a scenario where they're able to see out of these masks. But I have finally come across one mask that I know you can't see out of this mask, man. There's no way you're seeing out of this mask. It's got like horns right over the eyes, like no slits anywhere. There's no way this guy can see. But getting back on track, Yotanwa goes on to say, with that being the situation, that they've only got 2 options. Either they can retreat and try to escape to safe haven in the western mountains, or they could crush the enemy in the next 3 days and take all their food supplies for themselves. And Kitari says with those being the only 2 options, it really isn't even a choice, which Yotanwa agrees with. And she says had anyone chosen the first option, naturally their heads would have flown right here in this tent. And we see some of the tribe leaders noticing just how close they were to death and realizing that they just dodged a bullet.
Hey, amigo, go out. Hey, it's there.
Antonio!
There's one right there.
Oh, shit! Fucking shit.
And one of Heki's officers says that that's a relief to know that they won't be retreating. But there is one who decides to stand up and ask Yotanwa to hold on a minute. And his name is Old Impo. And he asks, when she says crush the enemy, does she mean to somehow capture that natural fortress of a city within the next 3 days? And she says that that's exactly right. And I really don't know how important this guy is, but he seems to be pretty mysterious because knowing how the mountain tribe actually fear and respect Yotanwa, it's interesting that this old man wasn't afraid to speak his mind, and at the same time was completely butchering Yotanwa's name, to the point that she was even thinking in her head, who the hell is Mantanwa? So perhaps this was maybe the original leader before Yotanwa took his place, or he holds some sort of important position, but that's just speculation. But he goes on to say that that is an impossible feat because in the last 8 days, they haven't even gotten anywhere close to it, and this is due to in no small part of the endless amount of enemies that keep pouring from that city's gates. And Heki thinks to himself that this man is exactly right, because not only have they not gotten a grasp of their numbers, but to try to defeat that huge army and capture that city in the next 3 days would be nothing short of a miracle. And Yotanwa says that she is aware that this will be difficult, but that is why tomorrow they will require sacrifices. And she says in order to challenge them, we'll need a strategy of sacrifice that will be as painful as cutting the flesh from our own bodies. And with those words, the mood in the room has changed. And you can see how serious the mountain tribe has just gotten, and how Heki has reverted back to his old sweaty self. And Yotanwa brings up the fact that with these sacrifices and with more people dying, there will also be a bit more food to go around. And we see some of the mountain tribe think having less mouths to feed isn't a bad idea, while some think it's not. But the king of Figo jumps in saying enough with the teasing. If you have a plan, hurry up and share it. When you tease us like this, I can practically smell the blood in the air, and I can barely control myself. The king of Figo's bloodlust always gives me that Hisoka vibe.
そんな目で見つめないでよ。興奮しちゃうじゃないか。
But as everyone eagerly awaits Yotanwa's plan, she lets them know it's nothing that impressive to get worked up over, but that tomorrow, Goba, Buen, and Torque, the 3 brothers and blood relatives of King Rozo, must die, no matter the cost. And the reason Yotanwa has selected those 3 is because those are the 3 swords of the Kwangrang army. And the King of Figo brings up the point that neither of the 3 would be an easy fight, as they've already had formidable tribes go up against them that were already slaughtered. And Yotanwa knows this, but she also knows that if they can take the 3 of them out, that would cut the Kwangrang army's strength in half. So on the 9th day, she plans to have Baggio lead her personal army, the Figo king, and the Mera tribe also lead armies, and these 3 armies will set out to claim the 3 Kwangrang commanders' heads. all the other tribes will either be placed under the Figo King Danto, the Mara Chieftain Katari, or Baggio, and will do battle according to their orders. And Yotanwa says no matter how many lives they lose tomorrow, they must kill those 3 commanders. Hearing this plan, Heki seems to have something on his mind. But the Figo King seems to love this plan. He seems to be ready to make some of the tribes that he doesn't get along with the first sacrifices of this battle. And you can see the Zan tribe in the background looking worried. He's definitely not trying to take one for the team.
If I lose, I'm gonna be mad, bro. Come on, bro. Just one more time. All right, bro. You got it. And I'm gonna ask you one more time. Was you the one who had these in my room? See? Keep it. Let's go.
No, I'm tired of him disrespecting you. Slap this motherfucker, babe. Show him.
Show him.
Show him. Disrespectful and disrespectful.
In the face?
In the face. Slap him in the face.
While on the other hand, Kitari says that the Mara tribe needs no help. But what is on Heki's mind can no longer be held, as he yells out wait to the surprise of all the mountain people. And Baggio asks what is it, General Heki? And also tells Ponan to translate for everyone. And Heki really wants to know why are they going so far. It's because of him that they're in this situation, and that now the mountain people will see countless casualties. And even further, that this was supposed to be a quarrel between Zhao and Quinn in the first place. So why is it that they still choose to share their food when their own men starve, and that they're willing to shed so much blood for their cause? And Yotanwa, cool, calm, collected, simply says to Heki, "You ask me this now, after all that we have been through, Heki. And to think that since long, long ago, I've thought of you as a friend and comrade." And Heki, overwhelmed by this response, salutes Yotanwa and says in that case, his men will offer a greater portion of lives in the battle tomorrow, and he begs that Yotanwa grant him the opportunity to redeem himself. And he humbly requests that she entrust his army with being one of the 3 key armies in tomorrow's assault, which shocks members of the mountain tribe. But he says with conviction, "Please, I beg of you, I, Heki, hereby swear that I will not disappoint you any further." And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys. And this was a great chapter of Kingdom. We stayed in one area for the entire chapter, inside Yotanwa'S tent, listening to this entire battle plan. Nothing besides that really happened, and it was still a great chapter. And see, the thing I think that made this chapter so good is that we got to see 2 things in particular that we rarely see. One, we got to see how Yotanwa conducts business with her mountain tribe. We actually got to see her come up with a plan. And just her overall boss status in this situation. It just came across really well. But the other thing we got to see, in all seriousness, is we got to see Heki trying to step up to the plate and, redeem himself for all of his sins. And even though it took him 552 chapters to do it, it's better late than never. I have to admit, I actually kind of felt like a spark of hope for this man's character. Because, let's be honest, I actually believe this, that Heki would possibly be able to take out one of these 3 commanders. Because when you think about it, it's not like he's taken out Rozo, and it's not like he's taken out Sun Suiju. So seeing Heki take out one of these commanders would be like a feat without actually giving Heki a feat, if you kind of get what I'm saying. But at the same time, it kind of stabilizes him as being a general that can at least handle like mid-tier problems. But if for any reason Hard decides not to give Heki this kill, then at that point he would just be trolling the loyal Heki supporters. But we'll have to actually see how Yotanwa handles this situation, because currently the 3 armies are the Mara tribe, Yotanwa's personal army led by Baggio, and the Figo tribe. So for her to let Heki lead one of the 3 armies, obviously one of the other 3 armies wouldn't be sent out on this mission. And when I really thought about it, the initial army that I thought Yotanwa would want to pull back would be Baggio and her personal army, and then let Heki fill in that slot. Because that would leave Baggio able to fight somebody like Rozo, because I'm not sure if Yotanwa would fight both Rozo and Sun Suiju. Not that she can't, because it is Yotanwa, but I kind of don't know about that because Baggio already has history with one of the brothers, and I'm sure this is kind of setting up for like a rematch. But I can't see her pulling out the Mira tribe or the Figo tribe, because we still need to see what these 2 groups are actually capable of as well, especially the Figo King and Kitari and Katari. So maybe she kind of blends them in with one of the armies, but that would really defeat the purpose of Heki's request. But there's also the possibility that she could just say no, because maybe she doesn't want Heki to participate in this battle. Maybe she already has something planned for Heki on the second day of her plan, because you still gotta figure that there's still Kosen Ryu to deal with. And Heki and his army's abilities may serve Yotanwa better in a more traditional sense, fighting against a more traditional army. Which brings us to the point that this is just stage 1 of the plan. We're still going to have to be able to take the city of Ryoyu. And the way I see it, if you're able to take out these 3 guys and have the strength of the Quarrel tribe on the 9th day, and on the 10th day finish off Rozo and the remainder of his army, then even if you come into a fight against the Zhao soldiers at a numbers disadvantage, they were already defeating them pretty handily before Sun Suiju arrived to retreat to Ryoyu. So if anything, all their numbers will do is make it a fair fight. And it's kind of hard to see what Yotanwa's words to Heki actually meant, because you could see it kind of being like a friend zone type thing, or you can see it as she actually cares for Heki on some level, which is disturbing, but it happened, so we have to address it. So I can't deny that there's actually something here, but I just hope it doesn't happen. But anyway, guys, that about does it for this week's review. Let me know what you guys thought about the chapter in the comments section below. Please leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.